I literally only had cheese for lunch.
Okay, hello and welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to Women's Body and Power, and Coach Katie and I are excited if you are here today with us or if you are just watching the replay. And so today's topic is going to be all about BMI, a little bit about body fat percentage, but mostly BMI. What is it? Is it important? Why is it important? And do you need to even worry about your BMI? So, Coach Katie, throw your thoughts in there. What does BMI? First of all, what does BMI mean?
So BMI is body mass index, and I'm going to jump right in with the whole, I don't use it. I use it with 0 of my clients, and I've stopped using it probably 3 years ago now. At least 3 years ago. You know, it's like once you know better, you do better. And so for me, it was just, it's not a good indicator of any sort of health implications. And it's coming from a place of it was really founded around white European males, right? That's how all of that data was kind of collected, and doesn't really give us a good picture of our body fat, right? Or kind of how our different systems are kind of working together. It's just literally a formula to identify, how much weight you have on a height of frame, essentially. Right.
So, I mean, it is just one measure of data. So BMI is based on your height and your weight. So this is the story I told my students at college. This is related to my boyfriend who goes to the VA, and as you know, he's a bodybuilder. So even at when he's at his heaviest, he is considered obese. And his body fat is not that high, even when he is that heavy. So the doctor has to tell him, Mr. Pullen, as your doctor, I'm required to tell you that you're obese, but you look really good. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it, right? So I think the key thing to remember, and this comes from Beth's question in our group, is your BMI is just one measure. So like in that instance of my boyfriend at the doctor, his weight is outside of what he is considered good, for his height. So that puts him in a category, right? So if you have more lean mass, your BMI will be higher, regardless of where your weight is coming from. If your weight is up in the certain range, then your BMI is going to be higher. So you can do any given BMI calculator, but it's going to give you a number, and you might be 18, 21, 25, whatever, 30 some, I don't know. But the point is, I think that there should be a healthy range, but there are a lot of other things that you need to consider other than just your BMI number.
Right.
So where do you think the focus should be? Should you be concerned with your BMI then?
Absolutely not. No, I would chuck it out the window. One, it came from a mathematician, not a physician, and then we adopted it into the world of health, right? Like health sciences, so that we could categorize people. We could group them together somehow, to kind of streamline our healthcare systems. Insurances jumped on board because they could start to charge a higher premium, that sort of thing. I don't like how it's founded. I don't think that it's useful information. And for the most part, people start to get really over consumed with these numbers that are somewhat arbitrary, as far as they're not personal, right? They're not really telling the true story of what's going on in the body, how everything is sort of positioned, right? What is that called? Distributed, right? Like how, right, where the fat is distributed. You could have a really, really big chested woman that's very slight, and her body mass is going to be you know, her BMI is going to be way different than somebody that's the same size as her with very small boobs. Right? Like there's just so many variables that don't get taken into account. I don't like the measure itself. There's definitely more ways to measure your health than that number. Especially because, you know, if you're going to the gym and you can train a certain workout, and then you can go back to the gym like 2 weeks later and do the same workout and see if you're making improvements. That's going to tell you way more about your health than the BMI is going to. So,
Right. So let's just talk like general health markers. You know,
yeah.
obviously when you go to the doctor, they look at this, right? But, you know, what should they really look at? Like what should you be concerned with? Like, so obviously I don't want to like overly get obsessed with my BMI number because it really doesn't mean a whole lot, but what should I be concerned with?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I think you should be concerned. Well, first and foremost, like, how do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you can look, however, you know, you can have the best BMI, you can have a great body fat percentage, you can have all of these things, but how do you feel? Because how you feel is kind of an internal measure, right? And like this is not something that they really ask you at the doctor unless you're going to like a counselor doctor, and at that point they're not like really worried about your physical health, they're just worried about your mental health. But number one, like how do you feel? Because how you feel, you can tie that to a lot of other things too that maybe even need further investigation, like blood work. You know, I really think that blood labs are a really great indicator of health markers, more so than like your weight or your BMI or whatever, because like if you feel like trash, there's usually a reason why. A lot of times it's related to, you know, your balance of hormones, something being off that can be found in your blood work. But just on a physical side, like that I'm going like really internal with the blood work thing. So how you feel, I think, is super important for you to look at, but also just like what is like your body fat percentage, to me, is more important than your BMI by far, because like how much you weigh on the scale does not matter. Like that's related to BMI too, like height and weight in general. But like your body fat percentage, if your body fat percentage gets too high, then it is also going to have a direct like influence on how you feel. Like your hormones will get, like your body fat percentage for you as an individual, you have a body fat percentage that you're going to function optimally at. Like you can have a range, but like my range and Coach Katie's range may not be the same, but like she may feel really good if she's in this range, and I may feel really good if I'm in this range. But generally, if you get way far outside of what is ideal for you, you'll feel it. You'll know like if you're too high or if you're too low, either way. So I think that's a really good indicator as well.
Yeah, I like that much better. I also think that, you know, for me, sometimes for the BMI thing, right? And going back to Beth's question about where she should be looking or that sort of thing. I always feel like I want to jump in there and be like, hey, if a doctor told you you're overweight and use the BMI chart, like how do you have that conversation and say, hey, I would like treatment based on what my symptoms are, not based on what this chart is saying? Because we have people that are coming in with really low BMIs or those normal range BMIs with issues, and then those same issues in somebody with a higher range BMI and overweight, excessive weight BMI isn't getting the same level of care. And so, you know, how do we start to help women, especially, have those conversations or start those conversations or ask for that to be interpreted without that being the key indicator of, well, if you have knee issues, go lose weight first, come into this, you know, range, and then we'll talk about if your knee still hurts. No, look at the knee. Let's see if there's a problem, right? And so sometimes I think that that's lacking. I've had a couple of clients that, you know, end up having issues that are in those higher BMIs and don't get that level of care that we would like to see them having, that the same people with those normal, I hate to say normal, BMI ranges would get. I don't know if you're seeing
Yeah,
that
so
with
you're
some of your
saying
ladies
like
too.
somebody with a higher BMI would be told by a physician that like first you need to lose weight and then we'll look at the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like treat the problem
Yes,
regardless.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Investigate the symptoms, right? Regardless of making that assumption that, well, their knees must hurt because they're overweight.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and I think that it comes down to also like you don't, and I mean, and I don't know this 100% because I don't even go to a regular doctor, y'all. Just, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, you don't hear a lot about doctors prescribing, exercise and health as much as here, take this pill.
yes,
You
super
know,
frustrating. Yeah, I think if we focused more on that being one of the like mainstream prescriptions, we would see a lot of a shift in our healthcare system. Although, like we know, exercise isn't, a pharmaceutical. They're not going to get that secondary level of pay after the appointment, right? So they're not going to make that next salary for prescribing that. And so that's a tough thing because the healthcare system does, it's a business too. So you want to just be mindful of that. Not knocking, like, not saying don't go get care, but just be mindful of, requesting to have those conversations with your doctor and asking if, can I try this first? That's always an option. I think for me, if we could change the mindset around BMI, around weight and that sort of thing, to get people to start to take their health into their own hands. I know that we want to go to those measures because they're quick and easy, right? Like we can go there and we can see something that's going to identify how good we are, right? We can have that identification right away. Instead of, what I'd like to see is my clients taking that initiative to start to track everything that's going on with themselves. Are there sleep cycles getting better? Are the recovery periods kind of shortening? Are they getting in enough water? How's their energy levels? And kind of tracking that. Are they getting stronger? Those would be indications that your health markers are improving.
right. Think of all of the ways that, and this is my statement to the listeners. It's like, think of all of the ways that you can track changes in your body. There, like I said, there's so many measures of data, right? But people look more for, there's so many that are numbers, which is great because you can see numbers. But yeah, look at the strength numbers. Look at those, look at those are improving. In the gym, are your weights going up? Are your reps going up? Is it easier than it was? Like rate yourself. Like in the gym, there are so many things that you can write down. Like I literally write in my log, if it was super hard, I will write like, wow, or like that was super hard or something. And so, like if I do that again later, and I know that I wrote that weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't near as hard, as the first time I did it, right? And so the more you can write down and like track over time, the more you're going to see, like, look at the things that you can track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's not just, you've got the weight used in the gym. You've got you've got cardiovascular stuff that you do. Like if you do machines or if you go outside or like, you took 10 seconds off of your last time, or you did an incline on the treadmill that was 5% higher this week than last week, or, so many little things that I think, people go into the gym and they try to hurry up and do their stuff. And I really think one of the big key things that you got to do is to reflect, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to reflect back on like what you did, even if that's like, and that's a great thing to do at the end of the day, is like take that time to reflect on what you did for the day, note those improvements. It could be like an end of the day thing or a beginning of the day thing, but like pay attention. Like we don't pay attention. We're always rushed, and we go and we do this stuff, but we're not paying attention to what's going on, and we're not like taking it in and thinking about like, wow, you know, I did this or I did that. And you know, so take that time. It's going to make such a difference in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know about you. I know for myself, I actually, all my clients that come to me, we don't do measurements anymore as far as like, you know, it used to be they come into the gym and it would be like a whole slew of like, okay, let's get your body weight. Let's get these measurements, this and that, right? If they want to take them, they're welcome to take them. But we do what's called benchmark workouts now. And we just kind of reassess those workouts, right? So they're always thrown in every 4 to 6 weeks. They get that reassessment. And then I also, I have a couple of spreadsheets that I use that track volume, right? So is the volume or the intensity of their workouts going up? That sort of thing. What's that?
I said spreadsheets. Oh, well,
Yes.
spreadsheets are like the death of me. I'm like, oh. But anyway, I like the benchmark workout.
They're way more motivating. I know it's nice to see like a half an inch drop on your thighs or something like that. And that can be really motivating. But to me, I just needed to find a way that was taking the focus off of the physical body of the women that were coming through my door, even the high schoolers that are coming through my door, male and female, because I think we get too stuck in what do we look like. And it was a way to kind of come to it as, how can I perform, right? How can I make those internal performance improvements? And so that for me has been working. It's a little bit more work on the back end because I, you know, have to do the math and stuff like that. But it's been fun because you can see the progressions, you can see the changes, and not have to be hyper focused, I guess, on those numbers. So
yeah, well, that's awesome though. So tell me like an example of what a benchmark, what is it, something that's part of your typical benchmark workout? Is it just like an exercise?
Oh, yeah. So I mean, something as simple as we do like a push-up test, right? You can just do a push-up test. Throw that in there, you know, once a month or something like that. You know, are you getting off your knees? Are you now doing toe push-ups, you know? And then it's like, normally it's just time. How many can you do within a certain amount of time? That sort of thing. If you want to throw in a heart rate check at the end of it, you know, and kind of seeing, you know, how that recovery is, you can do that too. So there's a lot of ways to measure. I tell people, find one that isn't like extremely hard to do, right? That's not going to take you a ton of time to set up. It's not going to take you a whole lot of time to perform, and just do it. And, you know, start to use that as your new measure, your new standard of improvement.
So my students had to do like their testing at the beginning of the semester, and a push-up test was one of them. And of course they have to do like the mile, walk or run, and all of the standard testing, right? But they had to develop their own fitness plan based on what of those components they want to improve on. So like they had to do it for cardiorespiratory endurance, for muscle strength and endurance, for flexibility, and then like note how their fitness plan would influence their body composition, if in any way. Yeah. Right. But I'm just like, so they have to journal every week, like what they've done, like activity wise. And so at the end of the semester, obviously we're going to do testing again. And I'm just like, I'm really anxious to see like if their scores improve, because some of them I'm like, all that stuff that you got written on the journal, I just don't even really know if I believe that you've been doing, you know, because I just don't know, but I'll be anxious to see. So I'm sure it's exciting for you as a coach when you do see them improve upon things. So anyway.
Yeah. I always make notes, and so my clients, they always get notes in their chart. Like, so I have this gal, right? When she first started, and she was, you know, overweight enough that, you know, going up to a 6-inch step was a huge chore. If she got up twice, that was a win. And so now she does it for like reps. She's going on the 16-inch step, and she's like, wow, remember when I couldn't do that? That's when I put it in their chart, right? Remember when I couldn't do that? Those things, you know, you've got to be reflecting, like you said, on where you came from. And I think sometimes we forget to let ourselves remember that. Like, I think we're so stuck on, well, we're here now and we're not where we want to be, instead of reminding ourselves how far we've come and celebrating that success. So
it's so easy to like, and this is why like so many people just quit so short because they're, you know, it's great to have a goal and it's great to have a focus, but when you're so focused that you become obsessed with where you want to be, that it's frustrating. Like, the reflective part is kind of part of what should keep you going, right? Because
Mhm.
like, look at all of the wins that you've had so far, right? Don't just think, well, I'm not where I want to be, I should be further than where I am. You know, like, that is the worst kind of attitude to have. Like, I should be better, I should, you know, I should be further than I am. Well, look where you were. You know, and granted, like, I think people go through these cycles too, and then they get to a certain place, and then if they backslide, then like they really get down on themselves and they're like, I should have been so much further. But you know what? I tell people, it's a cycle. Like, life is like that. Like, you're
Mhm.
not going to have everything be stellar performance like all the time. You are going to have setbacks. Stuff is going to happen to you, and it's okay, you know, but you just got to keep on going. Think again, where you have like all of the things that you have done that are great, like, so far. And yes, you may have further to go, but don't dwell on, you know, I should already be there by now, because
Mhm.
that's not going to get you there. So anyway, I think that we basically answered the question of BMI and its importance. And like, you know, Beth, I think that like for your situation, you know, you were talking about stopping exercising and reducing your calories, and that didn't feel right. And I mean, to me, it's not right. Like, exercise is like what keeps you going. It's what keeps you feeling good. That is the best. That is the best thing for your whole body composition anyway. So, like, I kind of get where, you know, some people have the mentality that, this is like, I've had so many people who will come to me and say, I want to lose weight first before I start building muscle. Like, and so they want to just like cut their calories and do cardio or something. And it's just like, to me, you're putting yourself, you're stalling where you could be, right? Like, you don't need to, like, you want the whole picture of fitness and wellness and health all at one time, not like do this piece and then do this piece and then maybe add another piece on, right? So you want to have the exercise because you need that strength training component, and you're not going to like add so much mass that it's going to like make you heavy or something,
Mhm.
like, right? It's going to improve your body composition anyway. So I think you want to stay on the exercise train for sure. And, you know, just be mindful of your food consumption, and, you know, eating things that are going to fuel your performance. You know, because, you know, sometimes we just, sometimes we want the foods that aren't the best for us. But I think, you know, it's okay to have something in moderation, but you just got to pay attention to like what is the big picture of your nutrition, you know. Would you agree?
I agree. Yeah. And I think, you know, like we get worried about being heavy. And I'll put this little caveat in there. I'm in a smaller size now at 150 than I ever was when I was 135, 130. Like, I'm in a smaller size now. So, you know, heavy is again like one of those things that we're worried about being, but in reality, you know, like it's just it's not useful most of the time. So she does say though, what kind of exercise will best contribute to her goal? Muscle building exercises. Build the muscle. The more muscle you have on your body, the easier it is to lose weight. Your calorie intake needs to be higher. Your metabolism's burning at its best level. Muscle mass actually makes weight loss easier. So add the muscle mass. Just go for it.
Lean muscle takes more calories to maintain. So that's why, like, you know, you lift weights and you're going to burn more calories for 24 to 36 hours afterwards, because your body needs those calories to repair your muscle. Whereas if you're just doing like a treadmill workout, as soon as you step off the treadmill, guess what? Those calories you burnt, that's the end. So you burn 200 calories on the treadmill and you're done. You burn 200 calories lifting weights and you're going to keep burning hundreds for the next day or two.
Yeah, and I want to point this out because I think people miss this because we're so fixated on the numbers, right? The watch. Yeah, the watch will tell us during a cardio workout that we've got, it's awesome. It's amazing, right? Like we are, like people kind of need to know how many calories did I burn. It's not going to say that many when you go and lift heavy weights. It's not going to say that many.
Mine lies to me all the time anyway.
No, the reality is it's not true. So
my watch is not my friend, y'all. I'm like, no, I don't pay attention that much to it. I mean, I do like to have my little rings filled in and whatnot, but like if I know for a fact that like as hard as I work out, like it's, you know, again, it's just some numbers, y'all. So use that reflective piece a lot, you know, focus on where you came from, focus on, you know, the wins that you have. Like y'all have wins every single day. Like if you get to the gym, you've got a win right there. Like if you know, drink a gallon of water, you've got a win right there. But like focus on your wins every day and don't just focus on one thing. Like your health is so many pieces and like it, you got to work on them like together. So like, you know, your stress, your sleep, your water, your food, your training, all of it matters. But you know, one number like BMI, not so much. So anything you want to like add in closing, Coach Katie?
No, I think so. I think if Beth, if you have more questions, you should reach out to us. But hopefully that clears up the whole, you know, at least our opinions of BMI and where they belong in the fitness industry. And if you
or if anybody has questions, you know, reach out. If you watch this later, you know, all of our contact stuff is in the link. There are links in the description box on YouTube, and so you know, reach out anytime, and hopefully we will see. And if you have other questions like in the group, y'all just drop those in, and we will see you next time.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, Holly.
Bye.
Bye.